The transmission came in bursts of static and fragmented words, barely distinguishable from the cosmic background noise. Dr. Adrian Lang leaned forward, adjusting the frequency filters, his fingers tense over the controls. He had been monitoring deep space anomalies for years, but nothing like this had ever appeared. The signal pulsed erratically, shifting between octaves, as if something or someone was trying to communicate. "Europa Station, respond," Lang said into his headset. Silence. The research outpost orbiting Jupiter's frozen moon had reported the anomaly first. Its last transmission had been cryptic, incoming impossible run. Then nothing. Lang replayed the message, but the distortion rendered the final words unintelligible. He swallowed hard, forcing himself to stay rational. The observatory dome above him offered a panoramic view of the void, scattered with distant stars. But something was out there, something that had silenced Europa Station in an instant. He uploaded the data packet to the secure UEDF network and marked it urgent. The message shot through encrypted relays, bound for the highest levels of Earth's Defense Council. 2 hours later, Captain Elias Voss received a briefing aboard the Erebus, Earth's most advanced warship. The room's artificial lighting hummed softly, casting a stark contrast against the massive display at the center of the command deck. The signal's waveform oscillated on the screen, shifting unpredictably. "This is no natural phenomenon," Lang said, his voice steady but urgent. "And it's moving." "Moving?" Voss leaned in, arms crossed. "How fast?" Lang hesitated. "Beyond our known limits. It wasn't there, and then it was. Whatever this is, it bypassed every detection grid we have, except for Europa's array. And now Europa's gone silent." General Marcus Steele exhaled sharply. A man of uncompromising discipline, he had seen countless conflicts, but nothing like this. "We're considering worst-case scenarios. Could be a rogue AI, or..." He stopped short of saying it. Voss said it for him. "First contact." No one spoke. The room carried the weight of that possibility, heavier than the artificial gravity keeping them tethered. Humanity had stretched its reach into the solar system, yet the galaxy had remained silent. Until now. "We need confirmation," Steele said. "Captain Voss, I want the Erebus at Europa within the next 6 hours. I don't care what it takes." Voss nodded. "We'll need full stealth protocols. If this is hostile, we can't risk leading it back to Earth." "Agreed," Steele said. "But if it is hostile, I need to know if we can kill it." The command briefing ended, and Voss wasted no time. The Erebus moved like a shadow across the void, its advanced hull plating absorbing stray radar pings. The journey to Europa took just under 5 hours. As they approached, the first thing they saw was the wreckage. Shattered debris floated in a slow, silent spiral around the station's remains. The outpost, once a beacon of human ingenuity, had been gutted. No scorch marks, no conventional damage. The metal had been warped, twisted into unnatural shapes as if subjected to forces beyond human understanding. Bodies, some intact, others reduced to frozen shards, drifted among the wreckage. Lang's voice came through on the internal comms, detecting residual energy signatures. This wasn't a collision. It was an attack. Voss clenched his jaw. "Any survivors?" "Negative," Lang replied. "No life signs. But..." He hesitated. "Something else is here." Before Voss could respond, proximity alarms blared. The ship's AI registered a presence. Not just one, dozens. Dark shapes emerged from Europa's shadow, shifting unnaturally, as if space itself bent around them. They weren't ships in the human sense. More like biomechanical constructs, their surfaces pulsating with an eerie, liquid movement. "Open a channel," Voss ordered. Standard first contact protocols. No response. Then, without warning, the first projectile struck. A brilliant arc of energy slammed into Erebus's shields, causing the deck to shudder. "They're hostile," Lang shouted. "Return fire," Voss commanded. The ship's rail cannons ignited, sending hyper-accelerated slugs into the approaching entities. Some connected, causing the creatures' beings, to rupture into expanding clouds of viscous, shimmering fluid. But more kept coming. The Erebus's thrusters fired in full retreat. Voss knew staying meant suicide. Set course for Earth. Full burn. Now, as they escaped Europa's orbit, Lang processed the final transmission from the station, now decrypted. The message was just 3 words. They are coming. The sky over Earth burned from the upper atmosphere. Streaks of fire marked the descent of alien warforms, dark obelisks that twisted in defiance of gravity as they plummeted toward the surface. The orbital defense grid was already engaged, torrents of plasma and railgun slugs lighting up the void as Earth's fleet clashed with the invaders. It wasn't enough. Captain Elias Voss gritted his teeth as the Erebus shook under another impact. The ship's reinforced hull held, but damage reports streamed across his display. Shields failing, weapon systems overloaded. They had barely made it back from Europa, and now Earth itself was under siege. Direct hit to the forward rail batteries. Lieutenant Commander Rourke called out over the chaos of the bridge. "We're losing firepower fast." Voss didn't hesitate. "Divert power to the coil guns. Keep targeting their flanks. Those things don't maneuver like we do." Across the vastness of space, the Zeldar warforms moved with eerie precision. They were nothing like human ships, lacking any discernible propulsion, shifting in and out of visible space as if reality itself was a suggestion they could ignore. Where human vessels fired ordnance, the enemy retaliated with weapons that tore through matter itself, rending hulls apart without an explosion, simply erasing whatever they touched. The Erebus banked hard, avoiding the grasp of a Zeldar warform that loomed too close. Below them, Earth automated defense satellites unleashed a final barrage before being snuffed out. The last line of orbital resistance was breaking. General Marcus Steele watched the carnage unfold from the Andes command center. The underground bunker, hidden beneath a mountain range, was one of the last strongholds of human command. Technicians worked feverishly, coordinating fleet movements, deploying ground forces. The main display showed the Zeldar's next phase, planetary invasion. "They're landing," a young officer reported, voice hollow with disbelief. "Multiple impact zones, North America, Europe, Asia. Our forces are mobilizing, but..." Steele cut him off. "Order all units to engage. We hold the line no matter what." The streets of New London were chaos. Sergeant Kane moved through the smoke-filled ruins, rifle raised, scanning the shadows between collapsed buildings. The Zeldar shock troops weren't like any enemy he had faced. They didn't move like men. They didn't die like men. A chittering sound echoed through the debris. Kane signaled his squad to hold position. His visor's infrared flickered with interference, but he could see them now. Twisted figures of bone and metal, humanoid but wrong. Their limbs elongated unnaturally, their movements glitching between frames, as if reality itself struggled to contain them. One of them lunged. Kane fired. The kinetic round hit center mass, but instead of falling, the creature convulsed, its form distorting before reforming. Then it kept coming. Headshots only. Kane shouted, adjusting his aim. The next shot tore through the thing's skull, and this time it stayed down. Across the city, similar battles raged. Fire and smoke consumed the skyline, and in the distance, massive warforms descended from the heavens, their hulls splitting open to release more of the biomechanical horrors onto the surface. Back in orbit, the Erebus fought on, but the tide was turning. A direct hit to the aft engine sent the ship into a desperate spiral. Voss barely managed to stabilize the vessel, breathing heavily as alarms blared. "We're losing her, Captain," Rourke shouted, hull integrity at critical levels. Voss knew it was over. The fleet was shattered, Earth's last defenses crumbling. But then, a signal cut through the noise, a transmission intercepted from the Zeldar. Dr. Lang's voice, barely controlled, filled the bridge. "I've cracked it." Their communication. They're not here to conquer, Elias. They're here to harvest. Voss frowned. What does that mean? Lang's next word sent a chill through him. They don't want our planet. They want us. The transmission ended, leaving Voss with only one thought. If humanity was to survive, there could be no surrender, only war. The Earth's surface was unrecognizable. Cities lay in ruin, their skeletal remains jutting out from the smog-filled horizon. Fires burned unchecked, sending plumes of black smoke into the toxic sky. The air was thick with the scent of ash, and something worse, something unnatural. The Zeldar had come to harvest, and they would not stop until nothing remained. Captain Elias Voss pulled himself from the wreckage of the Erebus. The once mighty warship lay broken in the ruins of what had been the European defense perimeter, its hull split open like the carcass of some ancient beast. His body ached, but there was no time for pain. He activated his comlink. "Command, this is Voss," he said, his voice hoarse. "I'm on the ground. Do we still have a fight left, or are we just waiting to die?" General Marcus Steele's voice crackled through the static. "You're damn right we have a fight left. Regroup at the Andes Command Center. We have one shot at this." Voss exhaled. "On my way." The trek through the wasteland was harrowing. The Zeldar were everywhere, moving through the ruins like shadows made flesh. They weren't mindless. They hunted, each step calculated, each movement unervingly precise. More than once, Voss had to remain motionless as one of their towering warforms passed overhead, its elongated limbs twitching, as if sensing him just beyond the veil of reality. By the time he reached the Andes stronghold, he was running on nothing but adrenaline. The underground bunker had become humanity's last refuge. Soldiers moved with grim determination, their armor dented, their faces hollowed by exhaustion. Yet there was something else, something Voss hadn't seen in weeks. Resolve. Dr. Adrian Lang stood near a holo display, his eyes dark with fatigue. "We finally understand their technology," he said the moment he saw Voss. "It's not just weapons. It's a network." Voss frowned. "Explain." Lang gestured to the pulsating symbols hovering in the air. "The Zeldar don't exist in a way we understand. They phase between dimensions, which is why they seem to flicker, why they don't move like us. But this," he tapped the display, "this is their anchor, a central core hidden within their fleet. We destroy it. We sever their connection to our reality." Steele stepped forward. "We've identified its location. It's in high orbit, protected by their largest warform. We take it out, and they should collapse." "Should?" Voss raised an eyebrow. Lang hesitated. "There's no guarantee." Voss nodded. "There never is." The last of Earth's forces rallied for the assault. The remnants of the fleet, patched together from crippled warships and scavenged tech, prepared for one final engagement. The ground troops, outnumbered and outmatched, would launch a coordinated strike to distract the Zeldar, drawing them away from the true objective. Voss climbed into the cockpit of a salvage fighter. Its frame was riddled with scars, but its engines still burned bright. As he ascended into the ruined heavens, he saw the battle already unfolding below. The Zeldar swarmed the battlefield, their warforms slashing through human defenses like knives through paper. Yet humanity fought back with a ferocity that defied extinction. The fleet broke through the upper atmosphere, engines screaming against the void. The Zeldar's core warform loomed ahead, a monolithic construct, its surface shifting like liquid obsidian. It radiated an unnatural energy, a constant ripple through the fabric of space itself. "All units engage," Steele commanded. Voss's hands were steady on the controls. He weaved through enemy fire, dodging arcs of unearthly energy that disintegrated ships in an instant. He fired, rail slugs hammering into the warform's surface, but it barely reacted. Then a breach. A concentrated strike from the Sovereign, Earth's last remaining dreadnought, cracked the warform's shell. A pulse of distorted reality rippled outward. The Zeldar hesitated. This is it. Lang shouted over comms. Hit it now. Voss didn't hesitate. He pushed his fighter to its limits, diving straight into the breach. The core was exposed, a swirling mass of shifting geometry, a structure that shouldn't exist. He fired every remaining warhead. The impact was instant, the core collapsing on itself, consuming the warform from the inside out. The Zeldar convulsed as their connection severed. One by one they vanished, their forms unraveling, their war machines crumbling into dust. The silence that followed was deafening. On the ground, the remaining soldiers watched as their oppressors simply ceased to be. Steele stood amidst the ruins, his jaw set, his hands clenched. It's over, he murmured. But Voss knew better. Humanity had won the battle. The war, however, had only just begun.